Patch 9.16 really mixed up a lot of things in the meta, especially the mid lane. Nerfs to the top 2 mid laners in the patch resulted in them dropping quite a bit. This, paired with a lot of different buffs to a lot of different mid laners, made it so that a lot of new champions are going to be seen a lot more often in the mid lane. Not every top tier champion is new, however a lot of them are, so today we are going to be going over the top 5 mid laners to be abusing this patch. Keep in mind that some of these mid laners are going to be more situational, whereas other mid laners are going to be fine as a blind pick. It all depends on what the champion gives and what they are good into. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides all done by challenger players sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that's something that interests you, be sure to check it out using the link in the description below. Now let's kick things off with a few honorable mentions, the first being Kassadin. Now Kassadin is a very strong mid laner, and he did receive buffs this patch, however there is one major thing that is keeping him out of the top 5. This is the simple fact that Kassadin struggles so hard against AD matchups, both bruisers and assassins. As a result, you're not really able to safely blind pick Kassadin, and he's more of a counter pick. If you are able to use Kassadin as a counter pick, you're still going to be seeing a lot of success. Just don't look to be spamming Kassadin every single game, because a lot of the time you're going to land yourself in a bad matchup. Our next honorable mentions are both Corki and Azir, and these champions are taken off of the top 5 for the same exact reason, and that is the simple fact that they both got nerfed this patch. Corki's nerfs were significantly harder than Azir's, and even though he was one of the best mid laners in the last patch, he's going to be struggling significantly more in the early and mid game this patch. He also isn't going to be nearly as much of a terror in the late game. Bundle all this together and honestly Corki is pretty underwhelming compared to what he was last patch. With Azir, the nerfs weren't quite as bad, but he has the added problem of being a very hard champion to pick up. While these champions might still thrive in the highest elos in your Grandmaster and Challenger games, in your average elo, it's just not going to be enough anymore. That is, for your average player, I would not recommend picking up Corki or Azir right now, as the power level behind them just does not justify the amount of time you would have to put in. Now our last honorable mention is Akali, and Akali does suffer from the same exact issue that Azir suffers from. While Akali might wreak havoc in Challenger and competitive, your average player just isn't going to be able to do nearly as much with this champion. The amount of time and effort put into this champion is just not worth the return, especially when you can get a similar return on a champion that is so much easier to pick up and less time consuming. Now, onto our number 5 pick, which is going to be Pantheon. Now, some of you might think that I'm crazy for putting Pantheon so high up already when he was just released. However, hear me out and I think you'll understand why I put him so far up. You see, Pantheon has been a top laner in the past, but after the rework it appears as though he's going to struggle when it comes to extended trades, especially against bruisers. Pair this with the fact that top lane typically has the most mobile champions in the game, and they're easily going to be able to get behind your E and deal damage to you. This sort of culminates into Pantheon not being nearly as strong in the top lane as he would in other roles, say jungle or mid lane. However, Pantheon's brand new kit makes him perfect into control mages. And when I say perfect, I mean literally perfect. He does everything you could ever want in order to completely shut down a control mage. His new Q has significantly more range and is no longer a skill shot, meaning you can poke from further away. It also provides very good wave clear, especially if you're able to play on top of the wave. The great thing is, Pantheon's easily going to be able to play on top of the wave into control mages. This is because most control mages are not going to have a way to get around Pantheon, get behind him, and start dealing damage while Pantheon's E is active. This means Pantheon will be able to negate trades completely from champions like Ahri, Syndra, Orianna, and even Cassiopeia. This completely shuts down a control mage because it means they're not able to get wave control, which is what they need in order to succeed. Pantheon will either be able to look for all lanes against these champions, or he can just roam to the side lane with his ult if they're playing super safe. He's also very good at facilitating both picks and ganks due to his point and click W. I honestly think that new Pantheon is perfectly suited for the mid lane. His short trades are fantastic, his roaming is really good, and he has good damage reduction, but only into bursty matchups. In a short lane like mid lane, you won't really need to worry about any mobility issues that Pantheon might have, and you're easily able to dive with your new E, so short lanes aren't really a problem for Pantheon because you can just dive the tower and it doesn't really matter how far away from the tower the enemy champion is. Now I could go on and on and on and on about new Pantheon, but it's time to move on to our number 4 pick. This is going to be Keanu in the mid lane. Keanu's win rate has been climbing higher and higher and higher every single patch. She's a very simple champion at her core, and she's not very mechanically demanding, making her a very attractive pick for an AD assassin. She's much easier to pick up than Talon and Zed, and is much better at team fighting, having some CC in her kit. Now keep in mind this champion is banned a lot in Diamond Plus, but below Platinum, this champion is pretty much available almost every single game. Now one of the main draws about Keanu is that she is not mechanically demanding. This does not mean she doesn't take skill to play, however. With Keanu, mastering her is more about how aware you are in getting your elements and what element you need at any given time. Figuring out when to use your mobility to give you a new element and when to use it to dodge is a whole nother aspect to the champion. For those of you who do enjoy a playstyle like this, I would highly recommend picking up Keanu, as she is very strong right now, and she really resonates with that style of play. She is probably the best AD assassin in the game, and her win rate will most likely pass both Talon and Zed's in the upcoming patches. My biggest tip for this champion is make sure you're going to be investing the right amount of games onto this champion in normals before you take her into ranked. Her passive and her W both take a little bit of getting used to. If you are able to master them, however, you'll be seeing a tremendous amount of success on this champion, and she is probably the best AD assassin in the game currently. Moving on to our number 3 pick, we've got everyone's favorite vampire. Now personally, I think Vladimir is a very fun champion, and I know that a lot of people do not have the same opinion as me. Oftentimes, I'll find myself just watching Elite 500's Twitch stream, watching him play Vladimir. He's an entertaining guy, and he's very good at the champion. This paired with the fact that Vladimir is so cool to me makes it so that I can just lose myself for hours watching him. If you are looking to pick up Vladimir, I would highly recommend his channel, as it's probably the best Vladimir channel out there. He's got hundreds of hours of VODs and he's pretty educational. He interacts with his chat often, so if you do want to learn Vladimir, I'd start there. Now the reason that Vladimir is so strong in the current meta is because he's able to scale into his insane late game pretty easily without much threat. There are some champions that are going to scale just as hard as you or could kill you in the laning phase and shut you down, but for the vast majority of champions in the game, you're just going to have a free pass into that late game. Complete mastery of this champion even allows you to bully people out of lane, get solo kills in lane, and get to that late game even sooner, completely taking over the game and 1v9ing it. Now, Vladimir is a very unique champion with a very unique playstyle. He's so unique in fact that I don't really know how to describe his playstyle. If I was forced to classify Vladimir, I would call him a life stealer, control mage, assassin, team fighter, I guess. Honestly, this champion can do it all, and the only drawback is his ban rate is a little bit higher than other champions. His E mechanic paired with his W and his range will take a little bit of getting used to, but once you have it down, you really will be seeing a lot of success on this champion. Another added benefit is you can take him into the top lane if you do get filled there, but I think he is significantly better as a mid laner. It is honestly pretty hard to do this champion justice with just words, but if you are able to just watch some Vladimir play for yourself, I think you will truly see what I'm talking about here. The carry potential on this champion is almost limitless, and with a good player who's mastered the champion, you can carry almost any game. Our number 2 pick for this patch is going to be Katarina. Now Katarina is by far the best AP assassin in the game. There really isn't any doubt in anyone's mind. She even beats out Akali, which is saying something. Her daggers will take a little bit of getting used to, but once you get her down, the amount of resets you're going to get in a teamfight is just absurd. Pair this with the fact that each one of your mobility spells on Katarina is a blink, and it deals damage, and resets your auto attack, and you've got a very potent champion here. Getting a reset off of one kill can often lead to you wiping an entire team as Katarina, and no other AP assassin has this. Most assassins are able to get one champion consistently, or maybe even two, but Katarina can get an entire team on her own. Unless you have some sort of absurd CC on your team, there's really no shutting down Katarina. She's probably currently the best mid laner in the entire game to master. Once you are able to master this champion, you're going to be climbing like crazy, trust me. The amount of Katarina one-tricks in Diamond Plus is insane, and I think there's only a few champions that actually rival this number, maybe Riven or Draven. It doesn't appear as though she's going to be getting nerfed anytime soon either, so make sure to get on that elo train, start playing a lot of Katarina. Taking the number 1 spot, we're going to be having Ahri. Now, Ahri is a pretty unique champion, and at the highest elo of play, she's really not that great. She doesn't see any competitive play, and she's not very viable in Challenger. Lucky for you, this video is neither about Challenger players nor competitive players. Even up till Diamond, Ahri's win rate is very high while maintaining a very high pick rate. Added on to this, she's very safe as a blind pick. You can play her into virtually anything without really having to worry. She does have a few counter picks, but they're pretty few and far between. You also don't really need to worry about her getting banned, as her ban rate is pretty low. Honestly, Ahri's a bit of an enigma currently. Oftentimes, the best mid laner in the game is some super complex champion that is super good at doing one special thing, but that's just not Ahri. Ahri is just a jack of all trades. She's honestly just always good. It's really that simple. That's why Ahri is our number 1 pick. She's just always good. She's just never bad. You can blind pick her, you can play her into assassins, she can play into bruisers, you can roam with her, you can play lane phase with her, you can go for plates, she can do objectives, everything. The barrier to entry on this champion is remarkably low, and anyone can pick this champion up in probably 20 games. Honestly, I don't have any downside to playing Ahri. While she's not the best at any one given thing, she's always going to work and she's always going to give you an advantage. She's simple, she's straightforward, your team is always going to know how to play around her. She has multiple different rune sets that she can take, she can teamfight, she can pick, she can split push, anything. If you don't already have Ahri in your champion pool, you are missing out so much. She's the ultimate pick that can round out any team comp, and if you're struggling to know what you should be picking, just go with Ahri, as she's always going to work. Now obviously Ahri won't be the best pick for every single game, but she does work in every single game. She's a champion that you can pour countless hours into, and while you won't see the highest return out of any champion to master, it's going to be very consistent and it's going to be a very steady climb for you. That's about all that I have for you for today's video on the top 5 mid laners of patch 9.16. A lot of these champions did come out of nowhere on this patch, and maybe some of my predictions will be wrong, but I think for the most part, if you are able to grab these 5 picks in the mid lane, you're going to be seeing a lot of success. If you want to see more of our content, make sure to check out our website GameLeap.com. There we have over 200 guides, all done by Challenger players. These guides are sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system, and we have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses. If that's something that interests you, be sure to check out the link in the description below and start your climb today. As always, I'm Panther, I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.